My name is Vladimir, and I welcome you to the Two Wars channel. In this video, we will talk about the evacuation of the Allies across the English Channel, which Hitler allowed them to carry out. He only needed to give the order, and his tank divisions would have rolled over the flimsy front of the Allies in a matter of days, but he did not do it. In this video, I will tell you how 40 British divisions broke out of the encirclement of the German army, why Hitler urgently halted the offensive and saved the English. So, sit back and get comfortable. We are starting May 10th, 1940. Germany initiated the Gelb Plan. Active hostilities began in Europe. The German offensive was developing rapidly. On May 20th, German tanks broke through to Abbeville, thereby putting a large grouping of Allied forces, consisting of French, British, and Belgian soldiers, at risk of destruction. In the port of Dunkirk, 40 combat-ready divisions were trapped.
We are defeated. We are completely defeated.
The report was delivered to London by the Prime Minister of France, Rainer. 2 days later, Churchill issued the order for evacuation. This operation was codenamed Dynamo. The Allies planned to rescue no more than 45,000 soldiers and officers, as the German tanks were only 16 kilometers away from Dunkirk. On May 24th, 1940, Hitler issued an unclear order prohibiting the use of tank units in this area. Well, before we move on to explaining this action by the German command, I ask you to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It will really help me. Historians still cannot understand what prompted Hitler to issue such an order. The Allies were in a catastrophic position. They were not prepared for evacuation. German tanks could have broken through to Dunkirk within a day and destroyed tens of thousands of enemy soldiers. However, Hitler prohibited approaching Dunkirk closer than 10 kilometers, allowing only the use of artillery, aviation, and infantry units. Hitler's order was broadcast openly, so the Allies immediately became aware of it. Many believe that this was done intentionally to give the British a chance to evacuate to Misty Albion. Among the German generals, there were many who opposed such hesitation.
We lost time, so the ring around the French and British was closed more slowly than it could have been. The main point is that due to the halt of the mechanized units, the encirclement did not close on the coast, and now we can only watch as many thousands of enemy soldiers run to England right under our noses.
General Franz Halder wrote in his diary, "The evacuation itself began on May 26, 1940. Hundreds of transport ships were involved. Dunkirk was regularly subjected to air attacks and artillery strikes. German infantry units also attempted to break through to the port, but French and British forces kept them at bay. Without tanks, it was difficult to break through the massive line of defense. Additionally, the British Air Force actively covered Dunkirk from the air. The Luftwaffe regularly lost aircraft, so the attacks became less intense. From May 26th to June 4th, a total of 338,000 Allied soldiers and officers were sent to Great Britain as part of Operation Dynamo. Some of them died from their wounds along the way, but 337,000 successfully reached the English shore. Due to a shortage of ships for evacuation, the Allies had to leave behind a huge amount of military equipment on the shore, including tens of thousands of units of machinery, thousands of tons of fuel, and ammunition. Only the Führer himself could know the true reason for such a decision. All we can do is speculate. We only have various theories put forward by historians regarding this strange order. Let's consider the main versions. Some believe that Hitler planned to use 300,000 British soldiers as hostages for negotiations with Churchill. It is known that even before the offensive, the leadership of the Third Reich attempted to negotiate with Great Britain. Hitler did not want to fight the British. He was more interested in continental Europe. However, the fact that the Germans did not attempt to capture the British at Dunkirk contradicts this version. They actively shelled their artillery and attempted to bomb them with planes. Furthermore, there is no reliable information that Hitler tried to contact Churchill at the end of May 1940. The reason for Hitler's loyalty could also be the increased losses of German tanks. The Führer understood perfectly well that tanks were the main striking force of the Wehrmacht. From May 10th to May 20th, tank losses increased significantly. Crews were exhausted and the equipment needed repairs. Ewald von Kleist, the commander of the tank unit in this area, reported that half of the combat vehicles were inoperable. There is another version related to the French counteroffensive in the area of Abbeville. On May 24th, General de Gaulle conducted a massive attack on this city. Colonel General von Rundstedt believed that the actions of the French could threaten the German troops and suggested transferring tanks to his sector, while entrusting the capture of Dunkirk to the infantry. Other commanders, Zebdetrick and Guderian, disagree with his decision, as they prefer to think outside the box and move away from traditional strategic solutions. Considering that the success of the German generals in Europe would significantly increase their influence at home, Hitler could very well go against them, thereby demonstrating his power. I listed the main working versions of historians above. Now I want to say a little about my perspective on the situation. He is, of course, subjective, so I ask you not to judge me too harshly. The fact is that the defeated British divisions, which often retreated even without heavy weaponry, held no value for Hitler. These prisoners needed to be housed somewhere. Unlike Soviet soldiers, the European prisoners were kept in adequate conditions. All their equipment and supplies had already been abandoned. If a serious offensive occurred, the Wehrmacht would not have been able to avoid losses. That is, on one side of the scale is a huge number of suppressed captive soldiers, and on the other side are the cost of time, human and material losses, as well as a critical deterioration in relations with Britain. I would like to remind you that Hitler considered the option of peace with the Allies during the war with the USSR. Therefore, it is not entirely accurate to call the absence of an offensive order a mistake. It may have been a cunning and measured decision by Hitler. What do you think? Why did he make such a decision? Share your opinion in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to my channel. All of this will greatly help its promotion.